I think so. My day job, I'm a therapist, and
Oh,
so,
that's what I'm feeling through the screen.
I'm a real therapist.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are
So
you? Wow.
yeah, I specialize with on teenagers and kids and families mainly. But I think part of the reason I started this was during the lockdown, people were struggling for what to do, and I wanted to have the conversation to inspire people to say, look at our celebrities, they're going through stuff, and they've how they all this stories to people to say, yeah, I'm having troubles in my own family, and hearing your stories can be something to say, okay, it's not just my fault. Maybe over time, and I can see the positive side of that. And it was interesting to hear about, the lawsuit that came through during the lockdown, and having your son saying, "Come on, let's get out. Let's just try and take your mind off of that." And I was wondering how else you were dealing with everything that you had to go through with, especially people close to you actually suing. That's, it's not a, it's very, I'm none of us. I've never been sued. I have no idea what that's like, especially by an older sister, an older family member, and how you deal with that. Because it's, mentally, I can't imagine.
I actually have been dealing with it more and more. I've always protected, I think I said earlier, the brand. It's like, oh no, we're a family. No one can know this. And what I realized is I was really protecting an abusive situation. Um, and I always say there's this thing, I always feel like you always hear about the lead singers who leave the group, become whatever. But then I've always said, what about the ones that stay? Because the truth is, I've always liked being in a group. You mentioned earlier, people in your ear asking you to do projects. Yeah, I would get that all the time as a kid. I would get my record company president always asking, when are you going to do a solo project? When are you? And I go, you know what? I like being in a group. There's a loyalty there. So
Mm.
if anything hurt me the most was, um, you know, the fear that my sisters had that when I did get an offer to do a solo project, I was given an ultimatum. And the offer was from Epic Records, but it started through Jam and Lewis to do a project. And now things come full circle because now we are writing together again, or
Oh.
Jimmy and I are writing. We don't know what we're going to do with these songs, but love what we're doing. So he says he wrote these songs for my voice, and that's relative and it's relevant and it's now, and I love that.
Mm.
But back then, when I was in these conversations with different people, um, when I did go to my sisters, and the first thing I did ask when people would ask me to do a project was, well, can you do one? Can you do one with all of us? Like, if it's my voice you love, then can you just still do the group? And if you need me to sing all the stuff, I will, but it's been such a roller coaster for us. So can you just do the group? I was that person
Wow.
because, but what I've learned is, sometimes I've always said there's a chapter in my memoirs called It Can Happen If You Stay. In some cases, we can stay too long in this. You can stay too long in a marriage. You can stay too long at your workplace. You can stay too long. In my case, I felt like, you know, if it got to the point where if there was some, if there was uh, something special about my voice, I think when my sister sued me and said that I couldn't say I was of or from Sister Sledge, that was hard because it was like saying it was hard to get work. It's like it's like saying I want to get a gig as cool in the game, but I can't stay in the game. It's like,
Yeah.
it's pretty rough, and that was rough. And now that I'm being asked to tell my story more and more, it has been cathartic. But I also, you know, I have now people asking me, like Tina was approached, can you can you tell your story in a documentary, or people need to know it? And I remember for a while I would say nothing because I felt like no one should know this. And when they did sue me, they sued me for like $200,000. I almost lost my house. They sent this long, you know, list of things I couldn't do. You're not allowed to sing with your family unless or re-record it unless you have our permission. We want a public apology globally to the world. It was some ridiculous demands, and I finally just said, this is. this is abuse. And it was all really because I did a project and I was asked to leave. And then I would come back and do different configurations. And then I would use the brand name as well, as we all did. But I think I'm sure that was a threat to them. And so what I have ended up doing now is I finally got the rights to my voting rights again. And now I do own the brand. And it's not to tell anyone else that they may not use it. It was when that happened, it gave me muscle to be able to tell other people that you can't sue me whenever. And they wouldn't sue me if ever they saw that I was working. They would sue you if you hired me. And what I would do is say, oh, wait, I gotta, point the guns towards me, or I'll give you indemnity so that you will make sure that you're not sued. Agents, promoters would be fearful to work because they would threaten to sue them. And sure, that cost me lots of money to be able to work. And again, before the pandemic happened, when Kim knocked on my door and helped me vote back my power, then now you see me more surfacing as the artist that I am, and I'm able to use my brand as much as anyone else. And then, I do have aspirations to do other projects. I don't know if I will perform as an entity as Sister Sledge, because it brought me, with my sisters. And this is why. Because now when I work, I make sure that the promoters is featuring Kathy. And there's a reason for that. Because, and I'll share this little side thing that Stevie Wonder, for instance, used to be like a mentor to me. He would always call me back if I called. And I remember once I was on the phone with him and he said, where are your sisters? And I said, oh, they're out on the road working. And he goes, that's not fair to your fans. And I never looked at it that way because, we always had this agreement that everyone can use the brand. But then when I've thought of it that way, that's why I make promoters. I make sure that they, as best I can, say featuring Kathy, so that you, as a ticket buyer, you know that I'm going to be there, or you know that, in most cases, I can say Kathy Sledge. Oh, now that I'm allowed to say that, but that way I feel like I'm being fair with integrity as an artist, that the ticket buyer knows what they're seeing, and I think, I know that that's important. Now that I'm able to do that, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, and as I mentioned, it's in the normal times we see groups, the lead singer leaves and moves on. It's very different when the lead singer is still part of the family, and then because there's the group and there's the group and there's the family and that dynamics, and I can't imagine how tough that was on your parents.
Well, we were single parent. My mother is no longer with us now.
Yeah.
I'm sure, it was. I think my mother had a different perspective. I think as a mother, she probably always felt like, even if she felt there was a gift that I had in the voice, she saw it in all of her kids, all of her daughters. So her role probably is more like, let me protect all of them. And let me make sure that they all share this. But I think in retrospect now, as a mom myself, I feel like if I see that one has something very special, I would just make sure that the others are not fearful of that we all have something special about us, but I think in my mom's case, of course it would really, really, hurt her if she knew that I was sued. That was after she passed. But I think more importantly now, and where I am now in life, is I've been able to put all this energy into some amazing things that I'm doing now. And I feel like the road that we take and the road that we had walked, I have this coffee mug that says, "Don't look back, you're not going that way."
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for being part of the Halftime Chat community. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. But most importantly, why don't you consider being a member? That's a way of supporting the channel, but also getting a lot of videos ahead of time, a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and some exclusive content that doesn't get shared. But anyway, thanks for watching and thanks for being part of Halftime Chat. Sweet.